Jake, the government wouldn't do that. Oh, yes, they would.
Welcome back, guys. My name is Jake, and today we are going to be talking about nu metal and the CIA and the conspiracy to suppress metal music. Now, before we get into this video, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the video. There is a link to the Patreon down below as well. And quick update, my music is almost ready. So the werewolf-themed band Vokoldlak HXC is just about ready to drop my EP. Let's get into the video. So a while back, I had made this video where I was going on Facebook Marketplace and trying to trade handmade knives for guitars on Facebook Marketplace. Now, I ended up meeting a guy who sold me this Jackson Dinky JS22 7-string, which, as a lot of you guys already know, we have upgraded to a JS22 7-string custom. I had a luthier just completely respec it, and it is... I ended up meeting with this kid off of Facebook Marketplace. His name is Roman. He's a YouTuber as well. He makes a lot of really cool like electronic music and just awesome dude. But as I talked to him about it, I was like, why do you have a 7-string Jackson if you're an electronic artist? And, you know, he's a young guy. He's probably like 18 years old. He goes on to tell me that he has a nu metal band as well. And I'm like, wow. You're way younger than me, and yet you are in a nu metal band. That's really cool. You know, nu metal was around when I was a little boy. Like, the first CDs I ever owned were one, Eminem, and that was because my brother went to Iraq, and I got all his old stuff. And then the other CD that I got, which was really the first property I ever owned, it was mine, was Linkin Park Meteora. And that kind of, you know, in the hands of 6-year-old Jake, sent me down this path that was just discovering, you know, nu metal. And I was like really young to be into that kind of stuff. But I have 3 older brothers who were into cool stuff. They like cool shit, you know? I'm just a little boy. Meanwhile, all my brothers are overseas, you know, whacking tangos and listening to heavy metal and slamming beers, you know? Like, I got to see cool shit when I was way too young. So I was just really cool to like 20-year-olds when I was like 6, right? Doesn't make for a cool kid at school though, tell you what. Nu metal is something that I got to experience as a little boy, and now this kid who's like 10 years younger than me is participating in something that a lot of, especially metal people, dogged on and hated so much. But this guy has Jinko jeans. He's in a nu metal band. And I'm like, oh, what are your influences? He's like, oh yeah, we're really like a Limp Bizkit, like Horn style, like nu metal band. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, you know, I kind of let that one go by and I don't really think about it. I just keep playing, you know, the music I like to play. And then this comes across my social media.
I think, and I will say it overtly, I think that rock has been purposely dialed down in the culture.
Now, that was a clip of Billy Corgan of the band Smashing Pumpkins, and he's talking about how he believes that the CIA or the government had suppressed heavy metal music, and I just got this feeling like, why would anyone do that? Now, we're going to take a look at a couple of clips here. And we're just going to talk about, like, potentially what it could be.
I think, and I will say it overtly, I think that rock has been purposely dialed down in the culture.
When would you say that began? Mid-2000s?
Late 90s. I think the first, and again, this gets wizard behind the curtain, right? Somebody's going to say, well, how do you know, or who was the wizard behind the curtain? All I know is I saw the gravity shift, okay? If you were at MTV or around MTV, 1997, 98, suddenly they decided rock was out.
Right.
When rock was still very, very high up in the thing. And it was replaced by rap.
Right.
They immediately changed the way their standards and practices immediately shifted.
Right.
So now that things that weren't allowed were suddenly allowed, people were waving guns. Okay. So some people assert that the CIA was involved in all that, again, above my pay grade, but I saw it happen. I did witness it happen. Okay.
Right.
And of course, great music came out of it. So it's not like, it's not a barren wasteland where something was pushed in that replaced something. Qualitative things and great artists came in, but there was this overt shift. I saw it happen.
Right.
And then now, as you pointed out, rap seems to be waning in terms of its cultural influence.
Right.
pop is completely dominant. Rock is probably the most dominant ticket selling thing in the Western world, and yet there's almost no representation of rock in culture.
Right.
So why do we have that schism? I think they purposely dialed down the ability of rock stars to have a voice in the culture.
Basically, what Billy is saying is that there was a purposeful push to suppress guitar music and heavy music in the culture, even though when it comes to ticket sales and live performances, guitar music, rock music, heavy metal outperforms everybody else, by a landslide, And I do think that it is strange that Metallica, the biggest band in heavy metal, or in the world of rock for that matter, and the pride and joy of American music, right, has never played a Super Bowl. It's strange. Now, you could say that maybe it was like making the population as a whole a little too uncontrollable and wily, so they had to push something else that would distract and lower the vibrations of the culture, of not just music culture, but the entire American culture at large. Now, you might be saying, Jake, the government wouldn't do that.
Oh, yes, they would.
Thanks, Wendigoon. Absolutely, they would do that. I think that if we look at a clip of Woodstock 99, the absolute chaos that people were bringing to that show and to that venue.
On this way, I just might break your fucking face tonight. Give me some break.
I think that was a lightning in a bottle moment that the powers that be realized this is a powder keg. This makes the population uncontrollable. This is the type of thing where if we don't get a handle on this and change the culture, we're going to have another 1776 on our hands, if you catch my drift. South Park actually touched on this exact topic.
We're going to bring back the Latin fad.
But it wasn't with guitar music and heavy metal, but this is a guitar music and heavy metal channel, so this is what we're talking about. South Park touches on this. For a lot of people, it was very, very popular to be what at the time we would call metrosexual.
You guys look pretty gay. Thanks.
Ryan Seacrest, right? Guys were wearing, tight jeans and how do we describe it? Google describes this as a heterosexual man who is highly meticulous about his grooming, personal style, and appearance, often investing significant time and money into shopping and fashion. Now, where have we seen men who are highly meticulous about their looks and maximizing their personal appearance? Strange. So I think it goes back to meeting this guy for this guitar when I had picked it up. The cycle tends to be in 20 years. A fashion person will tell you that things that were in 5 years ago are out now, but if you wait 15 more years, they're going to be back in. So I think that we finally hit a point in the cycle where nu metal's cool again, Jinko jeans and Blade and Underworld and all that kind of mid-2000s nostalgia is finally at a peak. When I was a kid, it was 80s. It was the 80s that we yearned for, right? Oh, the 80s were so much better. Conan the Barbarian and blah, 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 right? Now, 20 years ago was 2006, and that's when I was 11 years old. You know what I mean? So I feel kind of lucky to have lived to see it when it happened and also be here for when it's cool again. Now, let's watch another clip where Billy Corgan talks about this.
At different times, I've been approached by elements of the U.S. government to be involved in things that were just way above my pay grade. I've never talked about them in any depth publicly, but I've had experiences where I would find myself in a room with people and think, why are they talking to me? And it was something out of like Eyes Wide Shut.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
And what did they say? Like
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay.
No, because I haven't talked about it. I can certainly talk about it in sort of like in a sort of a kind of a I was there kind of way.
Well,
so I think Billy Corgan has a tell, and I don't know if this is him telling lies or not. So the last video, I think he was speaking genuinely from the heart. He genuinely believes that rock stars and rock music was suppressed. But if you look, Billy's closing his eyes now, and he talks kind of down his nose like this, right? And it could come off as pretentious, right? Or it could come off, if you're a poker player, as a tell. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
But it's similar to when I talked about experiencing a shapeshifter on Howard Stern. It became this thing where I was hunted in airports. Please tell me the shapeshifter story. All I can say is I've experienced supernatural things, and I've experienced things where I've had elements of the U.S. government reach out to me because they somehow want to hook my influence, which is not that great, into whatever they're after. So having had personal experience of this, and of course there's lots of other insinuations, and I certainly would say sitting here quite openly.
So I kind of disagree with Billy there. I think Billy Corgan might actually be like the Bowery King in John Wick, where he's kind of a kingmaker but underground, and he can make things happen for you, and he has a lot of power, but he's not in the limelight. He's not under the table. He is so far below the table that he kind of goes unnoticed. But we all know Billy Corgan is a massively successful, massively important figure in the rock world.
It seems very, very obvious to me that there are elements in popular music where people have been compromised knowingly,
right,
because they were offered kind of a Faustian bargain.
Right.
Pick door number one and we're going to push you to the moon.
Right.
Because in music, and this is certainly my area of expertise, there are people who are protected, and they get every benefit of that protection. And I know it because I know the game, because I've lived it. And there are other people where they just...
I think that is him talking about what we would call an industry plant. There are some artists who I think are being pushed, and there are other artists who I think are a more grassroots movement. One of my favorite, like, grassroots, underground kind of bands who I really wish nothing but success for is Honor, XONOR. They're so sick. I've actually DM'd with Donag, and guys, I want to play guitar for you. I want to play bass for you. I want to play drums. Whatever position needs to be filled in Honor, I want to be in it. If there is ever an American tour and you need a hired gun, hit me up. All right, keep going.
They decide to press a button and throw them off the ship.
Right.
Now, it might be because they're engaging in bad behavior, and we talked a little bit about that. But in other cases, I think just because they won't do the bidding that people want them to do.
Well, totally. There's a couple things there, Billy. First of all, as my friend Rick Spence would say, he goes, a good spy is someone that people would just offhand say, there's no way that guy would be doing it. So
we could ask Bustamante about that one.
Would be a perfect guy, because it'd be like Billy Corgan, the rock star, that we're going to have him do stuff. But that, first of all, that makes you a great choice. The CIA did do this in the 50s. There was a big music critic named Henry Pleasance in the 50s. And the CIA hired famously, or not famously, because no one knows the story, they had Henry Pleasance work as an undercover agent because, being a traveling musician, he always had a good excuse. Billy's in China, Billy's in Germany, and so that's one of the reasons they would pick you.
So on the Joe Rogan podcast, Wheeler Walker Jr. actually says that he thinks Sturgill Simpson might be an assassin for the CIA, which actually it is a great cover. If you are an assassin and you work for the CIA. Now, the CIA is supposed to operate outside of the United States. They're not supposed to be a domestic group. However, I think if you're a conspiracy-minded person like I am, then you would know that the CIA definitely has done some work here in the States. Guys, I guess at the end of the day, what I want to know is, do you think that rock music, even though it has the highest ticket sales for live performances, and the culture is absolutely wanting it, everyone loves metal music, it's the coolest, do you think it is purposely being suppressed? Do you think Beyonce is sitting at the Illuminati table saying, is she saying, I think people are too uncontrollable and we need to make sure they don't get their hands on this stuff? We can't have metal music at 440 hertz jamming through, raising the elevations, raising the testosterone of all these people? Or do you think it's just, it died? Do you think it died of natural causes? And we're in that 20-year comeback. I think that it was suppressed, but it's so powerful that you can't keep it down. No matter how hard you try, I think if you try to keep metal music down and hard rock music, you can try so hard, and you know what? They got really far. But in the end, it doesn't even matter, because the spirit of it, the raw emotion, everything about it is unsuppressible. It is an unstoppable force. It is an immovable object. I think that metal music, hard rock, is never going away. I think it will change forms, but it will be eternal, like a vampire. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and comment on the video. Tell me your thoughts down below. Please keep your eye out for my music drop for Vocaldlac HXC. And guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace. Gosh, every time I wash my hair, I feel like it doesn't look as good as it does dirty.